I still remember opening out the envelope. I felt the weight of the card, and then I started tapping it on the table. What? When I tell you that noise, man, I was like, damn, I made it. I don't care what anyone says. I made it in life. I got a metal card. Plan big expenses around the time that you're going to have your welcome bonus. That way you can put it on your card and then just pay it off because you were going to pay them anyways. So I had my girl. She knew she had some big expenses that she was going to pay for. So I was like, I want you to use my card. Pay for whatever you got to pay for and send me the money so I can pay it off. And so all the things that she was already going to pay, I pretty much had her use my card for and send me the money. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing episodes I'm bringing on this year. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. So if you've been tuning into the series, you would know how I got to a 700 credit score. Just a quick recap. Essentially, all I did was I opened up the self-credit builder app and started using that. That same month, I opened up my first customized cash rewards card with Bank of America, got approved. And then from there, I started making monthly on-time payments pretty much every single month, paying in full. And then I started learning about personal finance. So that's what I did to take me from like absolutely zero credit score at all to 700. Now, how I checked my credit score was on Experian, Credit Karma, and Equifax. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. And I think part 4 of the series, I forget, either part 3 or part 4. I'm not too sure. But I'm going to go into the credit score stuff a little bit later. Anyways, to pick up where I left off, now we're in December of 2020. I told you guys I started watching a whole bunch of personal finance videos. I started reading this book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And in the book, it talked about the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. Now, I knew I couldn't get that card. So I was like, all right, what's the lowest Chase card that they have? Like the most beginner entry level Chase card that they have. Because Chase, they're a little stubborn when it comes to accepting new applicants. At least this is what I'm told. For me, it wasn't all that hard. But Amex actually gave me a lot harder of a time to get approved for their cards than Chase did. But that's another story for when I talk about Amex cards. So after I read the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I started looking into Chase Freedom Flex. And I was looking at this card, and I was like, damn, this is a pretty good card. So let me tell you why I personally wanted it. Now, this card has a lot more benefits, but the reason that I wanted it, that drew me in, so they had a 20,000 point welcome bonus on $500 spend, which was virtually nothing. And I think you had 3 months to get that accomplished. So you had 3 months to spend $500, which is, if you do the math, then like 166 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even know. But pretty much, I was like, all right, that's really doable. Then from there, it also had 5% cash back or points back on up to 1.5K spend on different categories every quarter. So some quarters might be like Target, Walmart, whatever, Costco. Like it changes every single quarter, gas. But it was like 5% back. I'm like, okay. Then on top of that, it had 5% back on all Lyft rides. So I was like, all right, I'm not using Uber ever again. I'm getting 5% back on all my points. It also has 3% back on dining and drugstores. So if you eat out at restaurants, boom, that's 3% back. And if you go to any like CVS or Walgreens, which most of us do, boom, there's that. Then it has 1% back on all other purchases. And then on top of that, it has MasterCard Elite Concierge Services. So when I book my travel before I head anywhere, at least for personal travel, I always call the MasterCard Concierge Service, and they can help get me different itinerary lists and ideas of what to do and when to do them. They can also help book reservation for me and all this different stuff. Plus, it was just like a calm flex just to have. And the icing on top, they have no annual fee, 12% zero APR. Now, I was like, with all this, and this is just like the beginner level, I gotta sign up for this card. Like, this card is gonna be the one. So in December of 2020, I ended up applying for it, and I got instantly approved, if I'm not mistaken, for $1,800 credit limit, which is, as I said, at that time, I got approved for the $500 on the Bank of America when I first applied, but they approved me for $1,800. And at that time, my credit score was a little, I think 690 at that time. So I went to 700 and it dipped a little bit. But at the time we applied, my score was 690. And a little quick ninja hack. So at least for the Bank of America card that I have, I can request a credit limit increase, right? So what I did was I requested a credit limit increase on my Bank of America card. Now make sure you check on your card if you can do this. Some cards, like the Chase cards that I have, you have to, if you want a credit limit increase, they have to do a hard pull on your credit. Well, with my Bank of America card, I don't have to do a hard pull on my credit, and I can still request an increase. So I requested an increase, and they approved me to $1,500. So right before I applied, I did that, and I went from $500 to $1,500. So that's 3x in growth. My credit limit just jumped up. Then I applied for that Chase card, and then I got approved for $1,800. So now all in, I got $3,300 in credit limit that I have access to. Now, this is where the story starts to go south a little bit. So now in January of 2021, I'm hot. I'm feeling good. Like I got this brand new Chase credit card, and I got this new increase on my Bank of America card. And I was like, all right, now is that time. I'm going to wait 30 days, and then I'm going to get the Chase Sapphire Preferred. And so I ended up applying for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and it was like an instant denial. Now, here's another ninja trick. If you don't get approved right away, you can call what's called the reconsideration line. Now, I'm not sure if all credit card servicers or whatever providers have them, but I know Chase does, and I know Amex does. So I called the Chase reconsideration line so that they can reconsider my application and automatically approve me, at least manually approve me. And so I called them, and I was talking on the phone, and they was like, oh, there's nothing that they could do. And pretty much the reason for was that my credit that I had access to wasn't high enough. They pretty much told me my pockets weren't big enough, essentially. They were like, John, you don't got the money, bro. Why you applying for this card? And I was a little butthurt, not gonna lie, because I was feeling like I was the next big thing because I got my first Chase credit card, and I thought because I was already in the Chase ecosystem, then it was pretty much gonna be an automatic approval. So I think I told you guys in the last episode, the Chase Sapphire Preferred got a minimum credit limit of $5,000. Now my Chase Freedom Flex and my Bank of America card combined only added up to $3,300. So really, I didn't have any business applying for that Chase Sapphire Preferred. But I ended up doing so. They declined me. I didn't get it. So now I got a hard pull. My credit score drops a little bit. Next, I ended up maxing out my credit card that month of January. I think I was literally like $1 away from maxing it out. So I was like $17.98 or something like that and some change. And that hit my credit score, and then my credit score dropped again. So now I just got the night from my credit card, and then I maxed out my credit card. So that's boom, boom, back-to-back L's right there. And then from there, and around March, I ended up helping, I was talking to my dad, and he has a landscaping company, and he wanted to get some new machines. And so let him talk me into helping him get one new machine. I think it was going to cost like $12,000. So I was going to take out a personal loan for 10 bands and then help my dad pay it. And then he was going to pay me monthly. So whatever the payments were, he was going to pay me. That way I can get like a large line of credit on my credit score, and I have the monthly payments show me so I can start building my score. Well, I ended up applying for that personal loan, and they denied me as well, right? So now back to back months, pretty much. January, I maxed out my card. I ended up applying for the Sapphire Preferred, it got denied. And then I applied for this personal loan and got denied as well. So now my credit score dropped. I believe I'm under 700 again. And I was like, all right, I need to get back on the wagon. I need to get back in the game and start getting my credit score in the right direction. So I waited till April, and pretty much I applied for a Chase student checking account. Now the reason I applied was because there's no monthly maintenance fee. I could start building a relationship with Chase, and it had cash deposits. Now the cash deposit was big for me because I worked at a restaurant at the time. So I was making a lot of cash, and I needed some place that I can put my money into. And of course, I didn't go to Bank of America, but I didn't really want to bank with them anyways. So Schwab, which is an online bank account, I can't deposit any cash there because it's online. So I was like, all right, I'll open up a Chase account, and it's going to be dope. I'm going to rebuild my relationship with Chase, see that I'm really a valued customer, a valued member, and then help me get my score back up. Well, that's not going to help me, but I was going to get my score back up at the same time so I can continue applying for Chase cards. So I ended up, a while after that, I applied for the Chase Freedom Limited, and I got instantly approved for a credit limit of $500. Now, at that time, I think my credit score was about 709 on Experian. And the reason I got the Chase Freedom Limited is because it's like the sister to the Freedom Flex. It's a beginner card, and it has another 20K welcome bonus points on 500 spend in 3 months at that time. On top of that, I had 5% back on Lyft and 5% back on any travel booked through the Chase portal. It had 3% on dining and drugstore, and then 1.5% back on everything else. And it had the 12 months 0% APR, no annual fee. So it's very similar to the Chase Freedom Flex. The only real difference is that it doesn't have the rotating quarterly 5% back, and instead of 1% everything else, it has 1.5% everything else. So it's a really good card to use, and that was a step in the right direction. I was like, all right, boom. Then from there, in the summer of 2021, I disputed 2 hard inquiries off my personal credit. And now, how I did this, I forget exactly the step-by-steps, but pretty much, I think only one went through. And this helped me bring up my score a little bit. But I had to pretty much mail this letter that I got off of YouTube. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. And I found this letter, and I took the template, I changed it to have my name, my information, stuff like that. And then I physically mailed it to all the credit bureaus. And then from there, one of them ended up getting back to me. And so that helped me bring up my score back up. Along that same time in summer of 2021, I applied for another Bank of America credit limit increase. So I went from 1.5 to 2 bands. So now I have a 2,000 credit limit on my Bank of America account. And every 6 months, I always ask for a credit limit increase on my BOA card. So I have 2K on the BOA. I have 1,800 on the Freedom Flex. And then they upped it to 3.6K. I don't know why, but Chase, I guess, randomly checks your account and sees if you qualify for an approval or not. So they ended up putting me up to 3.6K, doubling what I originally had. And then I had another 500 on the Freedom Unlimited. So if we do the math, that's like, if I'm not mistaken, 6,100 in total credit limit that I had access to. And so I was like, all right, boom. My credit score is building. I disputed one of the hard inquiries off my account. I have a pretty good relationship with Chase now, and I got 2 cards, and I got the Chase student checking account. So in September of 2021, I ended up applying for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Same card I got denied back in February or late January of that year. And I ended up getting instantly approved. Now, around that time, my credit score bumped up to a 734. Right? I had a 734 when I applied, and they approved me for 5,000. And the welcome bonus on that was 100K points, but you had to spend 4K in 3 months. And so I knew that going in. And 1, I didn't even make enough money to be spending 4K, right? 2, well, who on earth is spending 4K? At least not me. I was barely making any money. So here's what I did. So I had my girl. She knew she had some big expenses that she was going to pay for. So I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I want you to use my card. Pay for whatever you got to pay for. Then send me the money so I can pay it off. And so all the things that she was already going to pay, I pretty much had her use my card for and send me the money. And so quick trick when it comes to welcome bonuses, especially for the cards that have larger welcome bonuses, you usually have to spend a large amount as well. So what you want to do is plan big expenses around the time that you're going to have your welcome bonus. That way you can put it all on your card and then just pay it off because you were going to pay them anyways. Right, so that's what I did. And she ended up paying for, I think, she's probably spent the most of it. She probably spent like 3,000 or 3,500 of it. I only had to spend like $500 of my own money because she was going to make all these purchases anyways. And then I got 100,000 points. So if we do the math, I got the 20K from the Chase Freedom Flex, then I got the 20K from the Freedom Unlimited, and then I got the 100K from the Sapphire Preferred. So now I'm sitting at a little over 140,000 because I was still getting points back from regular everyday spend. So I probably had a little over, if I'm not mistaken, like 150 to 160,000 by the time when I applied and got my welcome bonus from Chase Sapphire Preferred. And now that card, you get 5% back on Lyft, you get 3% back on dining, select streaming, and online grocery stores. You get 2% back on any travel, and then 1% back on everything else. So pretty standard, but here's where it starts getting wavy. If you're using the points to book travel in the Chase Travel Portal, you get a 1.25 multiplier. So if you have 100,000 points, now that's instantly 125,000, right? And on top of that, you get, and this is what I mainly use it for, a 1-to-1 points transfer to a bunch of travel partners. But for me, the ones that I use are JetBlue and Marriott. But there's a ton more. They have a bunch more airlines, and some of the hotels It's like they have IHG. I forget, they got the Hyatt. I think that's the same thing. I know they have some pretty good hotels, but I mainly use Marriott and JetBlue. And I only have to pay $95 a year to keep it open, which is virtually nothing. For all the benefits and the bonuses that I'm getting just by having that card, it's easily well worth it. So now if you notice anything, this is my first card with an annual fee. When you start getting really deeper into the credit card game, you have the credit card fees can add up pretty quickly. So you want to make sure you know that you're getting your money's worth for whatever card you're applying to. And so you do your research before you ever apply so that after you get your welcome bonus, the following year, you can still get value from that card. And the last thing why I love the Chase Sapphire Preferred is that it's a partially metal card. I still remember opening out the envelope. I felt the weight of the card and then I started tapping it on the table. What? When I tell you that noise, man, I was like, damn, I made it. I don't care what anyone says. I made it in life. I got a metal card. And so that was probably like the biggest flex factor in the planner for me, which is the fact that it was a metal card. And so that's how I got the Chase Trifecta. Now, here's a little caveat. The Chase Trifecta, different people, they vary. Some people get the Chase Sapphire Reserve instead of the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Some people do it with a business card. There's different ways, but essentially a Trifecta, it's just 3 Chase cards essentially. But the OG Chase Trifecta is like the Freedom Flex, the Freedom Unlimited, and then one of the Sapphire cards, right? So that was my Trifecta. Now, the reason why I started going on Chase first before I went to Amex was because Chase has this rule called the 524 rule. And what the 524 rule states is that if you have 5 credit cards that you applied for within 24 months, if you're still within that 24-month period and you try to apply for a 6th card with them, you'll be automatically declined, if I'm not mistaken. So I was like, all right, let me get in the Chase ecosystem, get whatever Chase cards I need to get out the way. And then from there, I start opening up to Amex and other cards. So that's what I did. And that's why I started off with the Chase Trifecta. And then I went from there. But now you may be wondering, like, John, but how did you learn all this stuff? How do you know what cards have what multipliers and what points back and all these different ways to use cards? On the next episode, I'll be sharing with you guys how I learned about building my credit score. Like the people I watched on YouTube, the websites, everything that I looked into about credit score so that you can start understanding your credit score and start building it. And if you would like, get instead of points and miles game. So make sure to tune into the next episode where I talk about how to understand your credit score. So essentially, just a quick recap, how I got my Chase Trifecta. So I applied for a credit limit increase with Bank of America, went from $500 to $1,500. Then shortly after, I applied for the Chase Freedom Flex. And then from there, I ended up applying for the Sapphire Preferred, got denied. I applied for a personal loan, got denied from that. And then I opened up a Chase student checkings account. I applied for the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Then I disputed a hard inquiry on my credit report. I got a credit limit increase on my Chase card. And then another credit limit increase on my Bank of America card. And I applied for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. So from December of 2020 to September of 2021 was a time period of when I got my Chase Trifecta. And at that point, by the time I got the Sapphire Preferred, my credit score went up to like a 730. And after I got that welcome bonus, I had a little over probably 150,000 points. So that's that. Next episode, I'm going to teach you guys how to start learning about credit. So I'll see you in the next one.